Abner Mares took on Anselmo Moreno. He was an awkward-looking opponent, was Moreno, for Mares. He had that. He bent down when he was kind of punching, a very defensive fighter, elusive fighter, and he ran away somewhat in this fight. Mares ended up winning a unanimous decision. One of the scorecards that you said was ridiculous. I completely agree with you. The scores were 116-110, 116-110, 120-106. Pretty ridiculous with the third score, but what did you see in this fight that may have caught your eye?
Well, Mares' performance caught my eye. It was an incredible performance. He knew going in who he was facing. Moreno is a smart fighter. He's a southpaw, real sort of stick and move, now you see him, now you don't kind of fighter. And Mares knew this, and Mares and his team developed a game plan that he was going to be on top of Moreno from the start, which is why he was running around the ring, chasing him around the ring, pressing him against the ropes. I mean, never let him really get set so that he could fight his fight. It was a brilliant performance by Mares.
25-0-1 with 13 knockouts for Abner Mares. For Moreno, this is his first defeat, and I believe he had a span of what seemed like 10 years where he did not suffer a loss. And in this fight, when Mares knocked down Moreno, that was the first time he's ever touched the canvas in his career. So when people are saying that this was just another slouch fight against a no-name fighter, this guy's pretty big, is Anselmo Moreno. Now, before we get to Moreno, for Mares, he's 26 years old. They were talking about Nonito Donaire. We'll get to that in a minute with his post-fight interview. But as we were talking about with the game plan, he kept attacking and he kept charging, and at times he would literally run after Moreno to simply say, I'm not going anywhere and neither are you. Now, there was one point in the fight where he did charge at Moreno. Moreno put his head down, and Moreno actually was deducted a point in the long run of this fight. He was deducted a point there. He lost a point on the scorecards. Do you think that this was accurate at all for a guy like Mares, who not only does he punch low, and as we were talking prior to this interview on at the kidneys, but also he charges with his head, he puts his head down. So could you see it being justified that it was the correct call that Moreno was deducted a point?
I think it was totally unjustified. It was not necessary. The fight was a sort of devil-may-care, throw caution to the winds kind of fight. Mares, as you know, punches anything that's in front of him. I don't think he's an intentionally dirty fighter, but the way he fights, which is to throw punches in bunches at whatever is in front of him. And if it's a kidney, if it's a protective cup, if it's a brick wall, it doesn't matter to Mares. Mares is going to be firing away punches constantly, and that's what he did. For the ref to single out Moreno for pushing Mares' head down struck me as being really ludicrous. Raul Casarez Jr. is a really reliable ref, so I don't want to accuse him of anything, because he has proven himself to be really reliable over the years. But it seemed like a really bad call and an unnecessary intrusion, frankly, in the fight itself.
Abner has this sort of reputation when we look back at the Agbeko fight for, yes, he'll throw punches in bunches. We know that. And he'll throw from all different angles, and he will try to land that one shot that'll just knock you out for days. I understand that. But then he had that one punch, what seemed like a few times, whether it was on the kidney or the cup line, a low blow, as many would say, and he didn't get deducted. So, you know what, with Moreno getting deducted a point, I honestly thought that he would deduct another point from Mares for either leading with his head, kidney shots, or a low blow. So did you think, when we look back at it in retrospect, that Mares should have been deducted a point as well?
Certainly, if Moreno was deducted a point, Mares should have been deducted a point. Again, the referee should not really have intruded. This was not that kind of fight. If he wanted to gain control of the fight, he should have gained control of the fight early on, because nothing changed really from the opening bell until, the 12th and final round. So if he wanted to impose some order on this fight, he should have done so earlier and not arbitrarily, or what seemed to be arbitrarily, deduct a point from Moreno.
So now Abner Mares has called out Top Rank and Nonito Donaire. Here was his quote after the fight when he was asked whether he wants to fight Leo Santa Cruz, who was on his undercard and retained his belt. Here's what Abner Mares said. No, come on, man. I want to fight Nonito Donaire. That's the only guy to fight. I can't take a step back, you know what I'm saying? No disrespect to what's-his-name, Santa Cruz, but he's a great champion and a great fighter, but we want to fight the best. We want to continue to step it up. It's up to Nonito's promotion because on our side, we're willing. Oscar said he's willing to drive or walk to Vegas, doubtful he'd ever walk, and knock on Bob Arum's door. We're willing to make the fight happen, so let's go. If Bob Arum wants to and Nonito will do it, we want the fight. A very honest and truth-telling response from Abner Mares. So now the question is if the two sides will actually meet and if the fight will be made. So now I ask you, you've seen a lot of fights made in your day. You have seen a ton of boxing in your career. Do you think that these two sides, who absolutely despise each other and have this Cold War-like feel between them, do you think that they could possibly meet up and make this fight happen that many fans would love to see?
Well, they certainly could make this fight happen if that's what they wanted to do, but could and would are two very different things. If Oscar says he wants to walk and or drive to Bob Arum's home and knock on the door, he should do so. He should do exactly that, knock on the door. But they have been so bitter and so dismissive of Arum for so long. I mean, one has to ask oneself, if one were in Arum's shoes, would one open the door if it's De La Hoya knocking, hat in hand, to sort of get this big fight with Nonito Donaire? It's sort of appalling. It's appalling for what's going on between these two promotional giants. And yet, as I was trying to watch both the HBO card and the Showtime card on the same night at the exact same time, I see that both of these promotional giants have really taken a page from HBO and from Showtime, who consistently put their own interests above the interests of the sport. It's disdainful of the sport. It's disdainful of fight fans, and frankly, it ought to change. Whether it will change and we'll see Mares fight Nonito Donaire really remains to be seen, but I have my doubts.
I want to talk to you very quickly about Alfredo Angulo and his first fight back in well over a year. I believe a year and 5 days, so not well over, but over a year when he last fought James Kirkland in what was a Fight of the Year candidate. If you haven't seen it, I'll throw a link in the description below to that awesome, awesome fight. But he was detained in prison because of visa issues. The warden would tell him that you're never getting out of here. He finally comes back. He knocks out Raul Casarez 56 seconds in to the first round. What did you see in Angulo's return?
Oh, just a welcome presence back in boxing. What a thrilling performance. He has power, really, like nobody else. He was up against a good opponent, for sure, which in itself speaks to Angulo after being inactive for as long as he has been inactive. But he put on, I mean, it was a one-punch knockout. How often do we see that, or how seldom do we see that? It was really great to see him back, looking really sharp with his cornrows and his beard. I mean, it looks like he's really been transformed, both as a man and as a fighter. Being in prison can do that to a person. Also interesting with Angulo is that he enters the ring no longer with a dog collar. I mean, his nickname is El Perro. No longer with a dog collar, no longer coming in as the villain. He's sort of coming in as the ex-political prisoner. So he has the love of the crowd like he never had before. It was fabulous to witness.
And you saw how much emotion was filled within him, because after he knocked out Casarez, he then started bawling on his trainer's shoulders, on anyone that could easily just come in and talk to him. He started crying to them. So you could see all this emotion that was built up in him when he was detained, from when he got out, and he just displayed it all. So, I mean, at least we're rooting for him. I'm sure many at home are as well. Robert Exel, thank you so much for the time, and we will talk to you again next week.
Excellent. See you soon.